Right, back and ready. Endgame. And number 3, or rather, already 4, sorry, is going to be played yet again on Tundra, which is right now the home map of Honor players. So they probably were happy with the results on the previous map. That was the home map of the Scraps, and are going to be attempting something like that again. But we are seeing a switch, as Sensu is being replaced by Metallo back into the match, and he's going to be playing Zeus. And the gods are overall interestingly different for the other side. Oranos for Green Sea Squash and Kirudai Azra is the same, of course, for Honor players. Whereas the Scraps are right now going with Isis for Magic. That's a switch from Thor. Apparently they don't really like the result of the first game. Fox is sticking with his Isis and Schulte is sticking with the Loki. So not that many changes in the end. It's just that in the different order it looked a lot of changes. But yeah, not so much. Okay, so let's start. Kirudai then is going to be yet again on the flank. And I'm kind of curious how it's looking for the opponents who are having double Isis. Isis on one of the flanks. Oh, yeah, that's unlucky. Having both Isis is probably on the flanks. That's definitely unlucky. Definitely unlucky. And Schulte in the pocket, well, he will have an easier time in the defense, but of course that's not something that he wants it to be something suited for the Egyptians. So I'm fairly curious how it's going to develop right now. We have already seen from Fox how he's probably going to play in the previous game. I wouldn't be expecting that he's going to be playing or rather doing something differently. Maybe the middle placement is going to be slightly different, but looking at the map so far, this is not such a high hunt variant as was the previous one, with so many hunter, rather herds, right next to the TC. So potentially it should be a bit more favorable for the defensive-minded team. That's right now going to be the Scraps, of course, and a bit harder potentially for Green Sea Squash, Metallo, and Kirudai. Well then, the Zeus in the pocket, that's something that's not all that bad. Because of course, it's kind of similar if they had Dra. Dra would be slightly better, but Zeus is not bad either. Because if you can have Greek boom without all that much of an annoyment from Raiden, is of course going to be awesome, that much stronger. And I'm right now looking at the first relic, which is for better hero damage versus Smith units, which is always useful against Locust, like Schulte is playing this game. Better human soldier pierce armor. Let's turn off the fog of war to have a look at all of them. 10% villager farming rate. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Cheaper walls and gates. That's also pretty great, especially considering that it's behind the Egyptians. And gold trickle. Yeah, that could be useful, but not all that crucial. And trio up help for monkeys could help in the early raiding. Yep, cheaper units or other units above your normal means are always going to be useful. A lot of hunt, of course, as we are on Tundra behind the bases, but much more importantly, we are seeing a whole lot more extra gold in this spawn. So it basically, the hunt has been replaced by gold. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 5. We could be calling 6 golds behind the Scraps. That's really pretty good. Pretty good, especially considering how many Egyptians they are having. Whereas for the opponents, we are seeing something very similar. And luckily for them, Kirudai is having pretty good corner, as he's having literally 1, 2, 3. Like 4 gold mines just for himself, and that's superb. Should be pretty easy for him to wall. 1 wall in there, 1 wall. Yeah, this is going to be a bit more difficult one, but still should be doable. And especially once he learns how much gold there is behind his base. Quite happy about this spawn. But same is true, of course, for the Egyptians on the other side of the map. I'm kinda curious if both Fox and Magic are going to go for the same strategy. It's going to be faster heroic from both of them. I'll be thinking that maybe not. Magic is kinda wants to take as many TCs as fast as possible and basically boom as much as he can. So I'll be expecting him to take the second TC after advance. Whereas Fox is gonna go for... I would be thinking the same as last game. As you can see that Magic is nicely scouting exactly all the gold mines behind his base and the hunt as well. Trying to discover everything there is to know. And he so far probably doesn't know that he is against another Egyptian. And since he's against Tra, might be a pretty interesting fight for them. Looking at the front TCs, I'll be thinking there's going to be a lot of fighting for this one. Because it's a bit closer to the middle of the map and it's not really all that far away from the green base. So even though this is a Magic's third And it's not a bad position either because of the gold also. I would be really thinking that Magic might be attempting to take the front DC of Kill You Die and steal it from him. So let's see about that. That wouldn't surprise me like at all, especially since he's right now having villagers in an offensive position, which is telling me that he's definitely thinking about second DC. So far probably was about this one. But maybe if the situation goes correctly for him, he might be thinking about the front one in here. But that's definitely going to be discovered a bit later into the game. Right now, Green Sea Squash is coming through into the classical. Athena. Oh, well. It's kind of unusual in team games. Usually you see centaurs, and rather than centaurs, the ceasefire being much more powerful in team games. But he's probably thinking that he might be going for some Athena rushing against the Isis, and expecting that Magic might be a bit more of a pain in the ass than usual Egyptians are, and might be attempting to stop not only the Migdol, but of course the extra TCs that Magic might be attempting to make. Fox in the meantime trying to spend a lot of resources into walling, which is of course very, very viable. So he's probably not going to be as adventurous as in the last game. Going right now for what? TC or the hunt? That's looking like the TC. He's gonna actually for a different strategy. So he is doing a different strategy than I expected, not like the last game, and hoping that it's going to be working better for him right now. In the meantime, of course, Green Sea Squash is quite nicely scouting the hunters from Magic, so problems for him right off the bat, as he is right now getting gold at pretty interesting location, and since he is still sticking to his position, that should result in a TC once he clicks into the next age. Let's go into Magic. Having pretty decent amount of gold.
In wedge.
Right now going for a bit safer TC with the Human Soldier Pierce Armor Relic. So basically the same strategies from both players. Slightly later advance from Magic. So a bit more economy for him. And I'm going to be checking, for example, if it's also reflected in some upgrades. Having pickaxe so far, whereas purple player is having nothing. Okay, so that's basically the difference in here also. As the faster advance from Fox means that he didn't have enough resources for the advance, or rather for the upgrade on his economy. In the meantime, we are of course seeing that Shelty is going to be alone against basically a double from his opponents, as both Metal and his ally Green Sea Squash are arriving right on his doorstep, and will be interested in basically maybe even Athena rushing him. That's basically standard Athena rush. He has advanced at like 5 minutes, if I remember correctly. 447, that's actually faster than I would be expecting. But yet, yes, this is basically a standard lineup. Basically a standard lineup for Athena Rush, double barracks and double archer ranges in there. And I'm kind of curious if he's also going for Minotaurs. He isn't. So that's something that you often also use, but since he has advanced faster, he cannot really spare the villagers all that much. In the meantime, the rain, I'm kind of slightly worried it's not being cast a bit too late or soon, because of course it interferes with the restoration from Metal. So if he might be wanting to use it, he cannot for like next half a minute, so he needs to be careful about what he does. And well, yeah, this thing's definitely used its special attack at the correct placement at the correct time. And well, that worked like a charm to help his teammate Shelty in the defense of his base. Yeah, trying to wall himself up to protect the tower, because that's very crucial for him, but unfortunately for him, that's of course not going to be working all that much, and we are seeing the wall toppling down, and the army still trickling in from the blues and teal's base. That's a pretty big army as the rain is right now off, so we are aiming into a situation where we might be looking actually at the restoration pretty soon, because the army is also getting pretty problematic, and I'm thinking it's going to be very soon after the tower is down, probably going to take down also the houses. Which should have been something that Metal should have been doing a bit sooner to get at the tower. A bit more, but right now the tower is down at any rate. And well, the battle is really going to be getting there pretty soon, as the army is still trickling in. And we are seeing just normal hoplites, and swords. Could be maybe expecting mediums, but so far it's not really happening, as all the other players, like for example Fox and Magic, are still booming. Magic at 3 TCs, Fox at 2, and Kill You Die is at 2 TCs also. So basically Egyptians living in their own world, whereas the rest of the players are playing a game. Well, in the meantime, of course, this is going to be meaning a bit of a problem for the opponents, if they are in a tough situation once Metal is basically popped. But of course, we are finally seeing that Fox is in the vicinity also. Not really hurrying up into the next age and having at least some army with the Axemen and Slingers coming in to have some fun together with Sheltis Heresiers. Well, well, well. It's probably going to be all about the big battle with Restoration. It's really looking like that more and more. And I'm just waiting if somebody's gonna advance into Nephthys sooner from the Egyptians or not. Right now Nephthys is coming up, so the time is basically running out for the opponents to attempt some kind of attack. And, oh well, yeah, this is nicely played. Yep, there's not going to be any kind of fun with the Restoration, because of course the very nicely placed monument by Fox is going to be preventing that, and that is something that will need to come down sooner than we are going to be seeing the god powers being cast in there from the opponents. In the meantime, of course, we have seen that Giludai is through Hathor and is right now trying to capture his front DC, basically trying to make sure that his opponent doesn't steal it from him, and he has also secured the gold, which is exactly what he needs to do, and finished with the wall, or rather is finishing with the wall on the left, exactly as we were talking about it at the very start of the game, as was expected. iMagic in the meantime a bit of scouting with the Dead Sphinx, and trying to find something that he could be killing, as Green Sea Squash is at 2 TCs. In the meantime, the army is of course getting bigger and bigger, and right now Metallo will be probably housed. He is pretty much housed. And they are still normals? No, medium hoplites. And that's exactly needed, because that makes a whole lot of difference in the fights, and is of course quite helpful. Quite helpful in the fighting to be had, and it seems like that we are arriving in there pretty soon, but still the monument is pretty big problem, because he needs to concentrate on it first, and that's something that you don't really want to divide your attention all that much in some push with, rather with Restoration. And so far that seems to be really happening, and Restoration being cast. Oh, wait a minute, where did he actually cast? He had to cast it very far away. And Monument of Soldiers didn't really have enough range. Oh well, he had to cast it somewhere in here, I'll be thinking. Well, that's a bit of a shame for the purple player, of course, because they were expecting that it would help them, but it didn't. It didn't at all. It didn't do anything at all, which is of course absolutely horrible, because Stealth is gonna lose the DC now, as there are enough hoplites in this position. And with the Dog Swords to get rid of all the extra army, Odysseus getting rid of course the troll and such. Yep, this is a job nicely done, and Stealth is reduced to just 0 TCs, and of course the saga will right now begin for him to survive into the game, and maybe come back into it, because right now he is in deep trouble and he will have to rely on just the economy that he's having, especially with pretty brutal locusts being cast on his gold miners. And oh my, even though he's having pretty decent army in here fighting against Green Sea Squash, yeah, without the DC, really tough times ahead. In the meantime, Magic has cast Defensive Ancestors because he was under pretty heavy pressure from Kiliudai, who is at 3 TCs also and seems to be having a bit better game than the green player. But at the same time, we mustn't forget that there is a bit of a different gameplay, as Magic is going for elephants, who are of course going to be hard countering all those chariot archers, and Geludai will have to be switching into Raiden yet again, as he was in the last game. As right now, of course, he's not doing all that well. The Ancestors are also partly responsible for that. And yeah, Destinaries is coming into the gameplay as well. So this is turning kinda sour for Geludai. He was the one attempting an attack, but it's turning against him. But in the meantime, we are still seeing the push going very strong from Metallo and Green Sea Squash in the Pocket player. The Pocket player's base, as of course, it's basically being occupied by Metallo and Green Sea Squash. I'm kinda curious if somebody's going to be attempting to steal the TC. So far, I don't really see any kind of villages coming through. Let's check, for example, if Heroic Age is coming in. So far, not Idols and Idol Morbel. Probably was chasing after the Sphinx that we have seen a bit earlier. But we are probably going to be seeing Thea coming up from the blue player, who is also going for a bit of help on the left as Kiludai is needing it, and still having a bit of catch, having a game of catch with Sheltis, a whole army. So Sheltis is like not doing anything right now, because he is, of course, falling for the bait of Green Sea Squash, who is at 2 TCs, Shelty at 0s. So that means that Green Sea Squash is still able to supply enough army to the bottom to help his red teammate. While Metallo is in the pocket, trying to fight alone. against the army of Fox, which is of course not a great idea because Fox is at 3 TCs. And finally Shelty coming home, exactly as Green Sea Swash is arriving in there as well. And they are so far doing a pretty great job, the Honor players, of cooperating. Because they seem to be exactly at the correct places at the correct times. Yeah, dividing the armies of their opponents, which is exactly what's needed to be done. And Fox is going to be the one to steal the TC, but yeah, he is not really stealing it all that much. But he's trying to make sure that it's not falling into enemy's hands. And since Shelty is not in a position to help with it, as he needs all the soldiers to actually fight battles, not really build buildings, this is not a bad choice, as Fox will be also able to help with some mercenaries from it. And yep, maybe even potentially later delete it and give it to his teammate back. Green Sea Swash coming through Thea. As a big battle already through RC medium toxots in here, forcing basically the Honor players off the base of the scrubs. So that's right now a victory, and shifting sense from Kiludai into the left, and that's not a bad idea at all, because right now that's going to be pretty much something like a triple, almost. This is more like a double than a triple, and it was exactly at the correct moment, because Magic was arriving, rather thinking about arriving in the opponent's base, and well, of course, right now he has to switch and go somewhere else, even though this is pretty scary. This is potentially pretty scary for any part of the map that Honor players are owning so far. Yeah, just waiting for another Migral to come up for Kill You Die, and another attempt at the opponent's base, as the gold is slowly running out, so I'm not really thinking that Magic will be mining all that much, losing this position. But still, those Chariot Archers are going to be quite annoying once they go for raiding again, as the back golds are so far not really protected because there is no walling to be noticed for the scraps. There's just some gold miners in the front TC right now, attempted to be captured by Green Sea Squash, and it has been just noticed at the last moment by Fox, who is trying to basically prevent it with Ancestors being cast into this position. But unfortunately for him, you can see that Green Sea Squash is having enough gold and enough food, enough resources overall for the hero Kontarai, and they are going to be absolutely killing them and wrecking them. So yeah, kind of a bit of a waste, not a full waste, because that's a lot of resources that had to be spent by Green Sea Squash, but still, the TC is being denied, and the army right now is from Fox arriving in this position because he's at 5 TCs, as not only has he captured the one from Shelty, he has also captured Shelty's front. So yeah, Shelty can basically right now go for T and have a bit of a fun looking how his teammates do, because with just 1 TCs, it's not like he's going to be all that effective in the game to come, but still, he is going to be supplying at least a few units in there. In the meantime, of course, Fox doing all he can to somehow secure the position on the right and trying to prevent the TC coming up from Green Sea Squash, as we are also at 3 TCs for Metallo. And is he maybe going into the next age already? Because I'm thinking that he should be. No, he isn't, but yeah, looking that Kiludai has lost TC on the left side to the pretty strong attack from Magic, and it's looking pretty nice right now for the scraps. As Kiludai is just 2 TCs is exactly what they need, but of course, Son of Osiris and Mythical Age, yep, that does make a difference. Heavy Chariot with baseline of upgrades for Kiludai, whereas Magic is without absolutely anything at all. And is he maybe going, oh, that's a lot of idols, isn't it? And for quite some time, I'm thinking, because the gold ran out quite some time ago. 45 TC, not any kind of advance into the next age, as we are looking at a pretty important battle right now happening in the front, as Fox is at 6 TCs, but without being even fortified, so I'm fairly certain that he's pretty stretching himself. Even though he's having pretty good population, to be honest. 180 is not half bad, he seems to be having enough economy for it, but I would be kind of worried about not enough upgrades. Just copper shields. For 17 minutes, 6 TCs, he might be really overstretching himself, because even though he is supplying enough units, it's basically not being able to go up through it, or rather 180. Which means that one of the town centers is basically useless for him. So he's will be just giving it basically the back one to Shelty, which I definitely think should be happening. But to finish my thought a bit earlier, just right now bumped by 30 through the 45 DC, he's supplying a whole lot of units, but since they are ineffective because they have no upgrades, just the copper shield, they are so easily killed by his opponent Green Sea Scourge because he is having more effective units, heavy Kontarai. even though he doesn't have anything in there. Still, his units are stronger than what the Egyptian has, especially stronger than the barracks units. It means he's going to be killing them faster and, yep, basically nullifying the advantage of all the town centers. You can see that right now Fox is even forced to supply mercenaries to basically hold off all the army from Green Sea Squash. In the meantime, on the left we are seeing a pretty strong battle right now, as Kirura is having to defend against both Shelty and iMagic. And iMagic, well, still without any kind of upgrades. And well, of course, not really any kind of success for Kirudai, finishing with the building, which was probably big goal, but he's having 45 DC already, and Mason's not, but he is having champion chariots, and bronze mail, and copper weapons, and iron shields already. So very nice upgrades, whereas we cannot really say that for the opponents. It's normal throw-in X-Men, but it's kinda understandable, because he had to spend a lot of resources to rebuild it himself, and defending quite dearly and direly against the attack in the early game, rather earlier game. Magic right now through Osiris as well. As he's still carrying the relic from the very start for the human soldier better Pierce armor, which could definitely be handy, could become in handy against the chariots, couldn't it? Yeah. That's really a shame. That's really a shame for Magic. But nonetheless, that of course right now means that those chariot archers are going to be slightly more effective, and they are definitely doing their job, as the Sons of Osiris are going to be having a bit of a brotherly laugh with them. In the meantime, of course, we are also going to be switching somewhere else on the map, like for example on the right, where Green Sea Squash in the Heroic Age has established himself right next to his front TC, his base TC actually, sorry, this is his base TC, and going for Titan, as this one is this front, and well, Fox is finally getting some upgrades in. Heavy Spearmen, but nothing from Armory. But at least the Heavy Spearmen are in, and he definitely shouldn't be having enough. Even though he's having 5 DCs now, finally relinquishing one to his teammate, Shelty, as under passage 4, the Tartarian Sports, aka Tartarian Gate, has been cast at the back. He is right now going to be getting back into the game, Shelty, and that's definitely something we would like to see, as it will be more effective use of the town centers. Yeah, Shelty unfortunately having to use even villagers to get rid of this problem. Whereas on the left we are seeing that Magic is still pushing forward, but not really successfully at all. Son of Osiris with all this artillery, and the TC is doing a pretty great job keeping his opponent at bay, even through the heavy elephants, and finally some baseline of upgrades coming up. Yeah, Kirudai is just trying to prevent any kind of shenanigans from the side, and basically also allow him to have some advantage through there, as we are seeing a bit of raiding through Magic's chariot archers, but he is caught up with by Metallo, who is already having heavy hoplites and will be aiming for the Mythical Age pretty soon as well, for all the upgrades, as Zeus of course. Well, artifacts or rather architects coming up. Green Sea Squash trying to catch up with those guys. He's having 5 speed, whereas Kontara has 6-9. So of course very easy for them to catch up, and in the forefront, not having enough luck, Fox in pushing through the opponent's base, because he is still lacking any kind of siege. So Titan Gate finished, Mythical Age just now as I was looking for it, and we are right now seeing an interesting stuff happening on the left, because Fox has just advanced into the Mythical Age, so that's going to be catapults on the right side, and much more importantly, he has somehow found his way through to the left side, so it's going to be basically all 3 players at this spot. But maybe not really all 3, because Yellow is switching a bit more to the right and going to be defending his teammate Fox is gold against Raiden from Green Sea Squash, even though Fox is also capable of doing that himself. Having finally some upgrades, bronze shields and copper mail. As for blue player, we are still seeing just copper. So right now the situation with the upgrades is basically turning around. A bit earlier it was in the advantage slightly for honor players, but right now it's coming for the scraps, and we are seeing the Titan coming up with, of course, prevention by the Hesperides, prevention of god powers, but I don't really think there are any useful ones that their opponents could be using. Exactly like that. So I'm fairly certain that this Titan will be coming up without any kind of problem. In the meantime, we are seeing Underworld Passage being cast at the back, and Shelty going to be reduced yet again at 1 TCs, and since a lot of villages are coming through and protecting the Underworld Passage, he's probably going to be stealing Still in the town center for himself. I'm not exactly sure how much army can they get there soon enough, but it's looking like that there are going to be enough mercenaries, at least from the town center, and since they are kind of long-lived, yeah, it's not looking half bad for the scraps, especially with the reinforcements coming from Fox and also from Yellow. I have seen something. Yeah, not much, but that's going to be getting better, I'm thinking, as those dudes are being made right next to this position. So goodbye, not really going to be easy to finish with the town center. Of course, as the units are still continuing, and Shelter is right now asking for the flaming weapons from the gods on his units, as he is definitely having to deal with the army with just not enough units, and that's basically the reason why he needs to get rid of them as soon as possible, and that's the reason why he needs to use them. In the meantime, he's oh my, heavily raided on the gold, and he isn't aware at all. He has absolutely no idea, and oh man, this is tragic. Right now he's knowing, but this is really pretty bad indeed. And some houses in the middle, nothing interesting in there, as we are looking at actually basically all the army right now from Fox going to the back and helping defend against the underworld passage, which is successful because Shelter is having enough bars to help defend against this threat. So all the villages dead? Yeah. What are those guys actually doing in here? Are they like getting stuck? No, but I'm fairly certain that this guy is blocking the Son of Osiris. What the hell? Yeah, so they're just chilling around. I'm fairly certain the Son of Osiris wants to go somewhere else, but this priest is... yeah, no, you're not. Interesting indeed. Kinda curious when Fox is going to be realizing that he's actually missing him, but in the meantime he's missing the front DC, because the Kontara raiding is in full strength, and especially since it's right now supported by the help from Metalla, who is right now joining in with at least some myrmidons who are already heavy, and upgrades already coming in with bronze weapons, basically whole bronze line. We are also going to be seeing the Titan coming up pretty soon, even sooner than the one from the purple player, who is just, or rather 55% through. Unfortunately for on the players, they have just used the underworld passage, which could have basically served as killing of the Titan. So right now it's looking like that it's going to be 1-for-1. Yeah, they are not kind of good god powers. Interestingly enough, Schulte didn't even use his spy. Didn't really need it or find proper use for it this game, as he was the one under pressure most of the time. And on the left, it's a pretty nice battle between Magic and Gilyudai, and I think at this stage, the most important part of the game in here is that Gilyudai mustn't lose. He is still basically at the same position. They are fighting in this battlefield for like the last, I don't know, 15 minutes maybe. Not really moving anywhere at all, but looking at the wall still attempted to be built by the red player, and very good position with the tree line. This is definitely going to help him quite a lot. He can hide the catapults behind it, and potentially even get in range of the town center. I would be thinking this is really much better for the red player, and Green definitely will have to do a whole lot more. In the meantime, he's not having even full upgrades. Definitely a shame that he's having just heavy elephants, not champions. But he is having iron weapons, bronze, so that's definitely nice. And the chariot archers are champions, but with full upgrades. So it's really looking like that Gilyudai is having a much better game than Magic. Where's actually the relic? Ah yeah, it's still being dropped here. Not being used by anyone. As we are looking at the pocket player having the gold miners quite unsafely. And it's looking like that Metalla will be finding them pretty soon. But in the meantime, he's finding proper TC and the villages as well. Exactly as we are looking at it. So TC goodbye, that's going to be coming down very easily, as Metalla is coming for another Titan. And oh, somebody's going for a melee fight. That's a bad idea against Myrmidons. That's a horrible idea. These dudes, they don't joke around. They don't joke around at all. That was a bit of a misunderstanding on his part, if he wanted to fight that or not. But we are also seeing that Green's squash at 3 TCs, Fox reduced from 6 right now back to 3, is having pretty big problems, as he's not up to par so far with Green's squash, who is moving forward, and of course, with the Titan's help, is going to be a pretty big problem for the opponents, as he is arriving in Magic's base and killing the TCs, going to be killing them one by one, and also getting rid of all the houses. All being cast on the right side against Son of Osiris by Metalla, as he is making pretty big problems for Green Sea Squash. And with the catapults, of course, and the support of the chariot archers, that's working quite nicely for Fox. But we are seeing the resigns as the Titan is just too strong, and the Titan from Fox is not going to be fast enough to deal equal amount of damage, especially because the battle in this on the left side is going to be lost for Magic because of the outage of the population limit for him. And the very nice work with the walls and the catapults by Kiludai. So that was a pretty good game. And the match is actually right now tied, so good job by Honor players, and we're going to be heading into a decider game 5. Well, this was well played by the Honor players from the very start. Very well played indeed. Let's check the post game. Kiludai is the MVP. Well, probably, but I would be thinking that the whole team from Honor players played exactly what they needed to do. Exactly what they needed to play, and it worked quite well for them. The double Egyptians didn't prove to be all that great choice. For the scraps. Yeah, that's a lot of gold, but didn't turn into a victory. Bit of resource distributed, but nothing major. Nothing all that major. Welty unfortunately couldn't really find his way into the Mythical Age through the game. I'm thinking that Fox should have given him the TC a whole lot sooner. Maybe it could have been different if Shelty was able to be in Mythical Age and with the Fire Giants, because they are usually a pretty big problem for anyone. Egyptians. Yeah, most used unit for Kiludai, Mercenary Cavalry for Magic as well. He's even having double of that, which is kind of surprising because usually it's us who are more reliant on mercenaries. Kind of similar economies from all three Egyptians. Fastest boom seemed to be from Magic. Well, GG.